Hi, it's Dr. Michelle van Tonder here with you again. And finally, we have got to our secret number 6. And secret number 6 is the characteristics of a solid team. Characteristics of a solid team. And we're going to focus more on the characteristic than we are on the team, because it is about being the right team player. Finally, we're going to put you out of your misery. You've been waiting since session number 1, so I've held you in suspense, and we're now going to be looking at that Japanese proverb that I mentioned way back in session number 1. And when the character of a man is not clear to you, then take a look at his friends. Remember, I mentioned it in the introduction session. When the character of a man is not clear to you, then take a look at his friends. So I told you how to do that, didn't I? Go to Facebook and you'll see a lot of the kind of things that they post on Facebook, the kind of things that the comments that they make, the moaning that they make. And do you know what? You do not need those kind of people in your organization. So I think if you, at the end of the day, and this is what we're going to be looking at today, it's not about being in the right team. It's all about being the right team player. So you and I need to understand that we must be the right team player. And do you know, I want to share a little story with you about a snake. And the snake was run over by an old lady. She ran over and she felt so terrible. She jumped out of her vehicle and grabbed the snake and took it home. And she started healing the snake and working with it and really getting the snake well. And when the snake got well, the snake bit her. And this ended up being a very poisonous snake. So the old lady ended up in hospital and she was really nearly dying. But they managed to get the venom out and all the rest of it. So she went back and she said, "Hey, Mr. Snake, why did you bite me?" And Mr. Snake turned around and looked at her and said, "But when you picked me up, you knew I was a snake." You see, sometimes we know that people are just not the right people. And you and I are not here to make people become better people. We're here to guide them, to lead them in a direction. But there are some people that just don't want to do it. And I know a good book that says bad character corrupts good. And you and I know that sadly, this is true. And it's sometimes there are some people you have to walk away from. And that is what we're going to be looking at. And let's hope by the end of the session, you're not one of those people that people want to walk away from. So a character flaw is actually a limitation. It's a limitation, it's an imperfection, and really honestly, it is a big problem. It's a deficiency in people who may otherwise really be functional people. Their flaws can directly affect who they are. The flaws can affect their actions. It can affect their abilities. For example, a violent temper. You know, that really, really breaks down people and destroys people. So I would love you right now to just pause this video. I'm going to ask you to pause the video, and I want you to write down 5 characteristics that you can write down from your role models that you admire. Just 5 characteristics from your role models that you admire in people. So press pause right now quickly. Right now we're back again. And I trust you've written down 5 characteristics, that you like in your role models that are around you. Now I wrote them down. My husband and I did this exercise. We were fascinated about 1, who our role models were, and 2, what characteristics we wrote down. So my question to you now is, you've got your 5 characteristics that you've written down. How many of those characteristics do you have and you display? Are you consciously living with those characteristics? Do you have flaws? My suggestion is, if I had to now come and ask your very close family and friends to use those words that you've written down to describe you, how close would they be? Something to think about. So if not, we need to go on a journey saying, okay, well, how are we going to fix it? So did you know that good people can become great people, but they usually don't. So part of the reason is that good people are often very unaware of how close they are to becoming great. So how can they become great? How can good people like you and me become great people? How are we going to do this? So how can we become great? How do we terminate some of those very poor habits? And we're going to look at that, because often that is just enough for a person to transition to their breakthrough from being that good person to being that great person. And I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, and sadly I don't know who said it, but the enemy of a great life is a good life. And that's simply because most of us are very comfortable in our goodness. Very comfortable in our goodness. So I'm going to ask you to pause your video once more. And as you pause this one now, I want you to write down the names of 3 friends that are close to you. Write down the names of 3 of your friends that are very close to you. Family, friends, whatever you want to make. Just write their 3 names down. Quickly pause and do that. Or you've already done it. Now you definitely have to pause, because the next step is I want you to reflect and really look at those 3 people, those 3 good people, and I want you to write down 3 annoying traits that they have. So you've written down 3 friends' names. Now each friend has got 3 really annoying names. Sorry, not names, very annoying traits. If you can't put 3 in, you definitely have 1. Now, if you had to look at that friend or that family member that it really annoys you, that they procrastinate, or it really annoys you, whatever it might be, I want you to write it down and take the time to have a look at what those traits are. So quickly pause the video again. Now I'm going to ask you to actually look at those friends and look at their traits. Obviously, you don't have those traits. I know that, okay? But now I want you to write down, who do you think that person would become? Or what would they achieve if they overcame that trait and they no longer displayed that trait in their lives? What would happen? You see, sports psychologists often help athletes change only 1 or 2 thought patterns or behaviors to take them from a good athlete to a great athlete. And that is all to do with the fact that it happens here. Right in the beginning, I said it's in our mind, the most dangerous place. And when they do that, their behavior is going to change, because it's your thinking, your thoughts, plus your actions going to give you your results. So if we can change the thought and the concept behind that thought and the belief system behind that thought, then we're going to change the behavior. So we're now going to have a look at some behavior traits that have really derailed many people. And we need to understand that as we're going through these traits, I want you to look at them and say to yourself, you know what? Do I have to mature out of this trait? Because by no means is this a complete list, but it just starts the pattern thinking of where we all have a slight character flaw. In actual fact, if you have a belly button, chances are you have a flaw. So how do we become great in the industries that we are in? And the very first one is enviousness. Enviousness is not happy with someone else's success. Not happy with someone else's success. Now, it's not very nice to make sure that you keep working hard to keep up with the Joneses, and you're always trying to reach new material levels and those kind of things. So we need to remember that it really means that you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. And who are you envious of? If you're envious of them, really don't leave it there. Write their name down and just jot down what it is that you're envious of. because that's your desire. That's what you're wanting. And I would suggest that you really just spend a little bit of time reflecting on why you're envious, and you are not meant to be that person. But there's something that you can do to become the great person for yourself. So make sure that you become that solid team player. And there's no need to be envious, because we complement each other. We don't compete against each other. The second one is defensiveness. Oh my goodness, defensiveness. Now, this is when we are very defensive whenever we've been criticized or corrected, and we're generally extremely hypersensitive people. And you know, hypersensitive people very seldom mature, and they end up with these elderly bodies with teenage behaviors. And one of the sessions we'll do as we go through, and I should make a note to remind myself, is that we need to look at our emotional intelligence. And we don't look at our emotional intelligence and how does it work and how do I function, because most of us stop growing emotionally at the point of a very big trauma in our lives. And most of us are living in very traumatic times. And it could be the death of a parent, it could be a death of a dog, a cat. Very traumatic experience for yourself. It could be a divorce, it could be bankruptcy. There's so many things that many of us are living through. And if we understand that, we're able to then to share empathy towards another individual. So the third one is aloofness. Oh my goodness, how bad I was at this one until I realized, and sometimes I'm still aloof and I really need to pull myself towards myself. So this is one of mine that is really bad, and that is aloofness. If you come off that cold, distant person, you will not be trusted. And if you come across that kind of person, you won't have influence over people. So you've got to soften your aloofness, and it is really something that I'm working on. So if you meet me, please forgive me. And you can come to me and say, Michelle, don't be so aloof. Let's be nice, okay? So I don't mind, because I'm working on it, all right? Another one is, oh my goodness, my personality profile again. And I know a lot of people that do this. And this one, I'm maybe not out in the open so bad, but I do it a lot at home. So I need to understand that this one is really, really, really something I need to get under control. And that is, oh my goodness, vitality. How volatile I am. Overly emotional people are attention hogs. Okay, it's all about me, myself, and I. And they focus too much on themselves. They focus on too much about what is happening to them, what they're going to lose out in a situation. And they don't really tap into the reality of the world that is around them and what other people are going through as well. So remember, if you're a volatile person, just try and understand. Now, we can overcome every single one of these behaviors, but we need to be conscious of them. And that's why I'm bringing them to the fore now. And I'm asking you to, when it happens, write down what happens to you as an individual when that does happen, because that is where you're going to enable yourself to go better. So please, leave some information for us. We'll gladly find people that will help you or recommend some things to read and ways to guide you through this process. So don't try and do it on your own, because no one can actually heal in a vacuum. We need people around us to heal. And if you're trying to do it on your own, then you're going to take a long time to be successful. So my suggestion is really and honestly, do something about it. Now, this is a very funny one, but it is all about being eccentric, and that is that eccentricity. Eccentric is very funny at the moment and at the time that it's happening. But the battle is to build rapport with people, because it's great to be different and it's great to be eccentric, but sometimes you need to make a decision. You're either going to hang around with all eccentric people, but if you're hanging around with people that are not eccentric as yourself, you're not able to build a rapport. And it's not that they're judging you. It's just that they're different. And if you think as an eccentric person that they are judging you, I'm going to ask you to check yourself, because you're probably judging them. And there's that thing that what you measure out comes back to you. So be aware of that. If you want deeper relationships, there's sometimes that your eccentricness needs to just be wrapped up, and no, don't be so eccentric. So just be aware of that. Now, oh gosh, this is a big one in South Africa, so forgive me for this, and if you're South African, you'll identify, and that is entitlement. Oh my goodness, I'm entitled to this and I'm entitled to that. And you know, entitlement will actually destroy you, because when you have that entitlement attitude, you really honestly believe that you deserve everything, that you deserve everything that you want. And a rampant epidemic attitude is happening in our society, and we need to curb that, because you know, you only deserve what you work for. And if you want a good relationship, you want good teams, then it's your responsibility to be the right team player. And if you want to be wealthy, well, then go out there and do the work. If you want to have a car, then go out and do the work and make sure that you earn it. Nobody's going to give it to you. So please understand, I have to work hard, you have to work hard. And if you look at the role models that we've got out there, like, for example, Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, we've got Robert Kiyosaki, they didn't sit on their laurels. They got out there and did the work. They didn't turn around and say, Donald Trump, they didn't turn around and say, oh, you owe me this. They went out and got it. So get off your rear end and go out there and get it. Do not have, this will destroy you. And it will destroy the people around you. So entitlement, throw it out the back door and work and go out there and do it for yourself. Sorry to be so harsh, but you know what? It is a true fact. Now, unreliable is another one. Oh my goodness, unreliable. How many people you know are unreliable? And you know, when a person is unreliable, their characters is unpredictable, because you don't know if you can trust them today or trust them tomorrow. And then it's definitely will not be someone that you could trust on your team. It's definitely not somebody you can confide in. So remember, you have to be reliable if you want to have a strong, solid team. So that was the 7th one. The 8th one is eagerness to please. Come on, people pleasers. You know who you are, and it's time to stop pleasing people, because you know what? People, when you're pleasing people, you actually cannot be an honest communicator. Because if I ask you something, you're going to say something to please me. Now, that's not honesty. So if you're a people pleaser, then I know that you're actually not an honest person. So try and no longer people please all the time. And, you know, the displeasures of sometimes you're going to blow up when things don't go your way or whatever it might be. But as people pleasers, you know, really honestly, if you're a people pleaser, I'm going to ask you to really find someone close to you, not as in friendship, but in your vicinity geographically, and really go and speak to them and help yourself to no longer be a people pleaser and to stand on your own 2 feet, because it will inhibit everything that you do. And I'm asking you, please, just see someone. And doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Really doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. We all have a flaw. As I said, I've got 2 of these 8 that I've been through already. I've got 2. So really understand, it's all about just making a difference in your life first. Then, of course, morally scrupulous is the 9th one. Morally scrupulous. This is where you find fault in everybody's misbehavior. The smallest thing, you find fault in everything, and no one ever meets up to your rules, and your best friend is yourself. So be very careful if you're a fault finder and you only want to live by your rules, because you know what? Everybody has a set of rules that we've got to live by. And then number 10 is making destructive comments. Making destructive comments. It's not nice to make destructive comments. And you know what? There's no need to be sarcastic. There's no need to have cutting remarks that cut people down. You will cut people down. You will be sarcastic when you are the one that has an immaturity problem. And it's your insecurities that ensure that you cut others down. So you will never ever have relationships that run deep and solid if you are sarcastic and you have cutting remarks. And please don't ever make a joke at someone else's expense. It's rude. It's just downright rude. So please do not laugh at other people and make jokes about other people. It's not funny. It's not funny. And like I said, this by no means is the whole list. There's plenty more that people work through. And so let's look at now the Lions team. What do we learn from our Pride of Lions that helps us with the team characteristics? And that is, the very first thing is that we're going to look at, they're protective, they're brave and courageous, they're hunters, and they're willing to fight. They are willing to fight. They're willing to get out there and fight. And with being brave and courageous, it's all about your daily choices. You know, when you really get up and make choices and do things, that is brave and courageous. You know, to some people, to pick up the telephone and make phone calls to people is not a courageous thing. But to some of you, it's extremely courageous, and well done for doing it. So try and just do it daily. You know, if the lions don't get up to go and hunt, they're going to die, and they'll die of starvation. And ultimately, yours and my income is derived from different entities that we have to do our daily actions. And John Maxwell says that your success is determined by your daily actions. So that's very brave and courageous. For some people, I know that just to get out of bed this morning was courageous. Well done. So just keep going and do what you've got to do. Willing to fight. You know, sometimes we've got to understand that when we're willing to fight, what is it that we're willing to fight for? What are we willing to fight for? And, you know, generally speaking, lions don't pick fights. It's only for survival that they will fight. And we need to understand that there's just some things you need to decide. And if you have your vision in place and your action plan, your game plan, you know what, you'll know exactly what you've got to get up and fight for. So my suggestion is do it. Hunters, they focus on the need to survive. Where is your focus? Go back to your focus. And in the groups, they belong to groups. They love to belong to groups, and they stay in groups, and they're very selective as well. So they're very, you can see here on some of these pictures, you can see here they are in groups. Here they are protective. You can see the covers playing here. You know, this is what they do. This is how they function. And that's how they become successful. You know, I love this picture of this particular lion that I'm going to show you now. If this isn't full out commitment, then I don't know what is. Full out, flat out, just going for it. And you know, when you get up in the morning, just go for it. So always remember that. Be very selective. The lions hang around lions. So positive people hang around positive people. I'm very sure that you've heard about your income is determined by the total of your 5 best friends that hang around you. So divide that by 5. What is your positive circle that you're hanging around with? I love this picture, and it's being about the selective lions. Look at them. Lions hang around with lions, and that's the bottom line. They don't mix. They have their group. You've heard me mention it before. They're the only cat animal that lives in a group, and they really want to be and make sure that they have their strength together, because everybody achieves more. And so we know that that's the good old teamwork. So really spend some time and look at these characteristics that you have in your team. Now, if you want to, like I said earlier on, go fast, then go alone. Go for it. Go alone. But if you want to go far with that sustainability and that longevity, then you have to go with other people. And it's collective that goes very far. It's never about joining the right team. It's about being the right team player. So as a solid team player, we need to learn what are the qualities that I should have to be an effective team player. And each and every one of us need to make sure that we're looking at this from a team player's perspective. So the first one is, are you reliable? A really good quality for a team player is being reliable. Are you a reliable person? The power of reliability. And the power of reliability is all about, do you get your work done? If your yes is your yes and you say you're going to be doing something, do you go out and do it? Can people rely on you? Also, to rely on you, if a task is not completed, do you come back and report why it wasn't completed? We don't have to explain everything, but you know what? Communication is something that makes you a reliable person. Consistency makes you reliable, and meeting your deadlines definitely makes you reliable. So if you're going to commit to it and you've got a goal, for example, and you really do everything it is to catch that goal, then a person knows that you're doing the work and they're able to help you to go to the next level if you haven't completed the goal. But if they know that you're doing it, that you're reliable, that you will be there when you say you're going to be there, that's a very valuable team lesson, and I'm sure you would like people around you to be reliable as well. The next one is, and we've spoken about this, and it was definitely one of the secrets of Lions, and that's communication. Communication. Please make sure that you communicate constructively. I do not believe, and this is my personal opinion, that there's no such thing as constructive criticism. Criticism is not constructive. All right? So that's my opinion. Okay? So I just believe that if you're criticizing someone, you're breaking them down. However, there is a two-way dialogue to help a person grow through an entity, but I don't have to criticize them. So communication means you need to be positive, confident, respectful, and speak up. Don't be one of those people that just sits quietly in a room and doesn't say anything. And when I'm on a team and I'm sitting in a boardroom situation, I'm an extremely quiet person. However, I do speak up when needed to be spoken. I don't just talk for nothing. And some people can't believe that they put me on a team and I can be very quiet through a whole team meeting, but I do. I suppose that's a little bit of consistency from my side. They can really trust me to do that. And next one is learning to listen attentively. Learn to listen attentively. Listen to hear, to listen to learn. When you listen to hear, you listen to learn. Don't listen to tell your story. It's not about you. And if you want to have a really meaningful dialogue with someone, have that discipline to make sure that you listen first and you speak second. All right, don't be the one that's just trying to say everything all the time. Then, of course, number 4 is active participation. It's so important to make sure that you participate in the team. How you do anything is how you do everything. So make sure that you're prepared for meetings. Don't arrive at a meeting with being unprepared. And also, as a leader, be active enough to actually give an agenda up front. I was in an organization and somebody asked me to train, and they literally thought they could just pick up the phone 3 days before and tell me, oh, by the way, we need you to train. And that's not active participation, that's control. That is control. And I unfortunately couldn't do it. But if you want me to be actively to participate, then I must be part of the process. And so be prepared that you need to be fully engaged and take initiative and contribute, because you can't just pick up the phone and just expect people to be available whenever you want them to be available. It doesn't work like that in a team. In a team, you've got to learn to be a team player, and you've got to understand people's schedules. So number 5 is share openly and willingly. Share openly and willingly. Now, please, I'm not talking about sharing all your dirty laundry out there with everybody. That's a little bit too open. All right, but openly means this is how I feel. Please also use the I statements when you're communicating. I'm sure most of you know that, when you said this is how I felt, not you said this. So be very aware of that. Share your information, share your knowledge, and share your experiences, because that helps the team go to the next level. That's been a really great team player. Number 6 is cooperate and pitch in. Cooperate and pitch in to help. Very important to be part of a team and really be part of your plan, working with others despite your differences. Sometimes we could have a difference of opinion, sometimes we have a difference of personality, but when the team comes together, the team comes together. You put your differences to the side and you make sure that things work. We do not hold grudges in the team. If you're going to hold grudges in the team, then you know what, get off the team, because you're not going to be a good team player. And I'm sorry for that if it sounds a bit harsh. Flexibility is number 7. Number 7 is flexibility. We all need to have that element of flexibility where you roll with the punches, you don't complain, and you don't get stressed. When something happens, avoid complaining. Now, I fall into that trap quite often where I just say it a little bit too quickly, and I bring it out, and then I'm going to really go back. You know what? It's actually harder to go back and say you're sorry than it is to actually back off and send yourself to the room first and make sure that you're actually able to blend with the punches. In one of the organizations that I consult with, oh my goodness, I've learned to bend over backwards with flexibility because it's just so difficult to work in the environment, and nothing happens exactly as you think it's going to happen. And many people are, let me just not go down that road. Right, the next one, number 8 is commitment to the team. Commitment to your team. Show up daily, do your work, make sure that it's about the team success if you're working on your team. And when you're looking at your goals and your action plans and the things that you've got to do, you've got to say to yourself, what must I do for the team today? And when you do that, you'll make sure that you really are moving forward with that particular team and with yourself. Number 9 is be a problem solver. Be a problem solver, solution oriented. We've been through how to be a solution focused person, how to deal with that. So this one should be very easy for all of us now. Be positive, no gossiping, no blaming. Take full responsibility for the choice that you made and stick with it. Hey, this is the choice that I made. I'm really sorry that I made this choice, but you know what? These are my reasons. Don't make excuses, but these were the reasons why I did that. And gossiping, please don't talk about other people on the team. It really is destructive. If you want to say something, say it in front of that person. Okay? If you want to say something, say it in front of that person. It's very important. And then the 10th one is treat others respectfully, and be supportive of all team members. Even if you don't like them, you're part of a team. That is your role that you've got to play in that team. So be consistent, be considerate, and be courteous. It's very important for you to have all these characteristics. So let's start wrapping up the session now. And this session is so full of information. I would really like to suggest that you rewound it, start at the beginning, look at it again, and really reflect on being the right team player. And remember, go onto the link down below, download the spreadsheets, download below the behavior traits, and make sure that you're going through the process that doesn't derail you, that you're able to ensure that you have a maturity growth in this particular area. Also, look at the team characteristics from Lions and the 10 qualities of an effective team player. Your action for this week is, remember, list your 5 characteristics of your role model. Ask your family and friends, do you display those characteristics? And if you don't, what are you going to do to actually display them? Because if you want to be that person, you're going to have to role model on that person. Write down the 3 names of your friends or the people that are close to you. List their annoying traits, 3 traits that they have, and then just spend some time reflecting on and say, what happens if that character trait was no longer displayed in that person? Where would that person be? Reflect on the behavior traits that could derail you, and identify which you believe you need to grow more in and which ones you need to become a little bit better in. So just spend some time on that reflection as well. Then the next thing would be, what must you do to be a good team player? We looked at the 10 qualities of a great team player, and what must it be for you to actually do that as well. So remember, link down below, join our positive leadership community. Let us help you to become a high-performance leader. Ask us questions, let us guide you. We're here to share, and we're here to take you to the next level. And so it's all about leadership action through practical application. Dr. Michelle signing off here. Till next time.